Somewhere, at some point in our past, a person died, and instead of walking away, someone else dug a hole. They placed the body inside. Maybe they added something, a flower, a tool, a piece of red ochre. Then they covered it with earth. That single act, choosing to bury the dead, is one of the oldest signs of something we still do today. But when did it start? For a long time, the answer seemed clear. At two caves in Israel, Kapze and Skul, archaeologists found human skeletons deliberately placed in pits, dating back roughly 100,000 years. One skeleton was found with a deer antler resting against its chest. Another was covered in red ochre pigment. These weren't bodies that fell and were covered by dust. They were placed, on purpose, with care. For decades, this was considered the oldest confirmed burial by our species, Homo sapiens. But we weren't the only ones doing this. In 1908, in a cave in France called La Chapelle aux Saints, scientists found the skeleton of a Neanderthal curled in a shallow pit. Later, at Shanidar Cave in Iraq, researchers found several more Neanderthal burials, some surrounded by pollen, which led to a famous theory in the 1960s that Neanderthals buried their dead with flowers. That theory has since been challenged. The pollen may have come from burrowing bees, not funeral bouquets, but the burials themselves were real. Neanderthals were placing their dead in the ground tens of thousands of years before we assumed only modern humans were capable of that. Then, in 2023, the story got a lot more complicated. A team led by paleoanthropologist Lee Berger announced something that shouldn't have been possible. Deep in the Rising Star cave system in South Africa, they found the remains of Homo naledi, a small-brained hominin that lived roughly 300,000 years ago. And they claimed those remains had been deliberately buried. If true, this would push back the origin of burial behavior by hundreds of thousands of years, and it would mean a species with a brain a third the size of ours was capable of ritual, of grief, of treating the dead as something more than discarded remains. The claim exploded across headlines, but inside the scientific community, the reaction was far more cautious. When the research was formally reviewed, several paleoanthropologists argued the evidence didn't clearly show intentional burial at all. The bones could have ended up there through natural processes, water flow, sediment collapse, animals dragging remains into the cave over time. As of now, the Homo naledi burial claim remains unresolved. Some researchers defend it, many don't. The debate is still open. So what does that leave us with? Not a clean answer, not one single moment we can point to and say, this is where it began. Instead, we have a wider, stranger picture. Homo sapiens were burying their dead 100,000 years ago. Neanderthals were doing it too, around the same time, maybe even earlier. And somewhere in the fossil record, there's a real possibility that an entirely different, much older, much smaller-brained species of hominin was doing something similar long before either of us existed. Burial isn't just about disposing of a body, it's a decision. It says, this individual mattered. Their death meant something. If more than one species of hominin came to that same decision, independently, across hundreds of thousands of years, then grief and the impulse to mark a death might be older and far more widespread than the word human was ever built to describe. We didn't invent the idea that death deserves a moment of care. We may have just been the last ones still doing it. If you want more, subscribe and hit the bell. Don't miss what's coming next.